Hello, welcome back to another video. My name is Brandon Watts. Today we are out here at the beach to put in some work. We were here before to capture this structure, this Airbnb, but the pool was not completed back then. It's in its final phase. So now we're back to take some pictures of the pool for this Airbnb. So first off, I want to say thank you for helping me to hit 1,000 subscribers. Y'all are amazing. And I apologize for not being here in a while. It's been a few months since I last posted a video. Of course, it's not been without good reason. My business has actually increased quite a bit, almost 100% increase since November. Why is that? Well, I believe in personal development and having people help you who know more than you to increase your business. And although my business was steadily increasing every year, I decided this year, why not hire a mentor who knew more about the business to help me fast track my growth. Now, of course, I've been doing real estate photography for quite some time. I've been doing photography for even longer, but all of my focus have been on how to increase the quality of my product and not necessarily on how to increase the business. I've never done any marketing. I've never spent any money in the 7 years I've been open for business. The last 4, I've been doing this full time. The first 3 was part-time as I worked as a waiter serving tables. And every year has been increasing. The first year, I think I made like $3,000 or $4,000. And last year I made somewhere around $75,000. So now in November, when I hired this mentor from Acre Partner, his name is Brandon Sue. He's helped me tremendously with just some few easy tips to help me get started. And I've increased from $5,000 to $6,000 a month on average to now hitting $8,000 to $9,000 on average. So his expertise has helped me tremendously in helping to increase my business. He's the guy you want to ask questions, and he will definitely help you out. Of course, there is a little bit of a cost that goes behind it. This guy has run several successful businesses, and time is money. So don't think that it's just for free, but his help is amazing. So definitely look for Brendan Sue of Acre Partner to help you out if you ever need the assistance. Now for this video, we're going to take it back to the beginning on how to edit Flash Ambient, because I've been getting a lot of questions in the email and in the comments saying, hey, can you release your actions, your custom actions, or I'm not fully understanding the process of how to edit Flash Ambient. So I decided to take it back with this video. I think very soon I'm going to release my custom actions. I'll probably charge maybe like $10 for you all to buy them. It's not necessarily the actions that you're paying for, because anybody could put these actions together, but it's more so the workflow, the process of how to efficiently edit your Flash Ambient images. Because for me, when I first started editing these images, it would take maybe like 3 to 4 hours to edit per house. Now it only takes about 40 minutes to an hour. So I'll be releasing those actions soon. I think by charging maybe like $10 for them, that will help me to pay for an assistant to help edit these YouTube videos. And now instead of taking my Saturdays, which is like 7 to 8 hours worth of time editing these YouTube videos and putting them together, I think now it'll be easier for me to just record them and then send them off to an editor. So I think the proceeds that come from these custom actions will help benefit all of us in return. So look forward to that coming very soon. I just have to make sure that everything is, all the kinks are worked out for those actions, and then I'll release them. I'll also be posting a couple of tutorials to go along with them on how each individual action works and what you would use it for. And then also in the next video, I'll be talking about how I have recently been going into single flash photography for real estate. I do a lot of flash ambient still, but I picked up a new client who all they want is ambient photography. So instead of going in the HDR route, I'm going with a little bit of a more high-end single frame ambient shot that I think is looking really nice. So I'm going to teach that in the next video. Look forward to that, and I'll see you on the other side of this video. You all take care and talk to you soon. Okay, so we're here in Lightroom, and we're going to be working on these 3 images here. First one's going to be of this bedroom. It's going to be a very easy image to work on. The next one is going to be this open floor plan. And if you remember one of my other videos, this is the exact same floor plan that we were working on before, but this time it was occupied by the owner, so they have their furniture here. It is a different house. It's not the same house that I photographed, but it is the exact same floor plan. Okay, and then this one is going to be our third image, which once we learn everything off these first two images, we'll be able to quickly work off of this more complex scene that has multiple flash pops throughout the house. So let's go and get started. First thing we're going to do is select all my images, go to sync, make sure I turn on auto sync, and what we're going to do is my main import preset. What this does is it lowers the highlights by 50%, ups the shadows by 50%, and then it comes down to the lens corrections. It enables profile corrections as well as remove chromatic aberration. Then inside this manual tab, it increases the defringe on both the purple and green sliders by 4. Nothing else has changed. So what do we have here? We're going to be working on Flash, a Flash ambient workflow. So because of that, we have our 3 ambient exposures from dark to light. These 3 are going to be merged together because, as you can see here, this is the middle exposure, and I did not take this at the middle exposure. This is actually 1 to 1.7 plus over the middle of the histogram. So when I'm in my camera, the middle exposure, I actually bump up to about +1 to +1.7. Then I shoot a -2 and a +2 bracket. So the -2, this is going to be for the windows. As you can see, the windows, they're not completely see-through. That's okay. I'm not doing any window pulls on this workflow. I don't normally do window pulls when you're looking at a house just outside the window. Normally I would do a window pull if there was like some kind of nice scene, nice landscape outside the windows, you have a nice pool or something. But whenever you're just looking at a neighbor's house, I typically don't do any window pulls. So for these standard houses, they're fairly easy and quick to work through. So then, so we're going to merge these 3 together into a single HDR file. This is going to be my first flash pop, which is directly above the camera facing backwards and hitting the corner of the room, so that way it fills in this room here. And what this really does is to help out with the lights and the highlights in the windows. So since we're not really doing a window pull at the moment, we don't typically need this light or this flash pop. There's no lights that are turned on and we're not trying to see through, but I'm going to keep it as a part of the workflow anyways, because the way my action is set up, it incorporates that into every process. Every time I hit that action, it accounts for this layer being there. So I like to take it whether I need it or not. The second flash pop is going to be on the right hand side, and I'm bouncing off the corner of this wall here to fill in this left hand side of the room. Basically anything on the left hand side of this fan, the ceiling fan, is going to be brightened up by this flash pop. Then this is going to be the opposite side. Whatever is on this right hand side of the fan is going to be nicely lit, whereas everything on this left hand side is a little too bright, but that's okay because we're going to take these 2 together and blend them to where we are taken out of both sides of these images. Then there's actually another portion of a room, of this room here, so it has another window, and so that's why I'm popping another flash over here, just to simulate that window light coming through. I'm going to select all these by holding down shift and then left clicking. First thing I want to do is, I don't care about the white balance on any of these HDR layers because we're not going to use it for its white balance values. For its color values, we're going to be using it for its luminance values. But these flash pops need to have the correct white balance. So I'll go ahead and hit it with auto. That's fairly good, but it's a little too blue in my opinion. So I'm going to bring this up ever so slightly to about there. And it is a little greenish, so I'm going to pop over this magenta ever so slightly. And that looks fairly good. Okay, now I can do a sync. I'll do a check none. I'll check the white balance box, and I will hit synchronize. Now the white balance is synced on all of these to the same. This one is slightly blue, and again, even though we're not going to use this layer, I don't think, I'm still just going to adjust the white balance just so that way you get into the habit of making sure your white balance is correct for all your flash pops. So normally this isn't going to be a long process, it's actually really quick, but since I'm showing you how to go through the process, it's going to take a little bit of time. So next thing we're going to do is right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. And in this version of Photoshop, I'm using the Photoshop Beta because it has the new remove tool, which is really great. Even though we're not going to remove anything from this image, I just like to use this version of Photoshop. Now I have an action, if you check in the description, it's a free action. It's my HDR merge action that I use right here. As you can see, again, these are my first 3 layers. They are ambient layers, 2 stops apart, 3 exposures. All I have to do is just hit my HDR merge, and it's going to take those 3 layers and merge them into one single HDR. So now you can see it's one HDR layer. The windows are correct, shadows are a lot better compared to how it was with the middle exposure. So now you can see how anything in white is revealed, anything in black is concealed. We are looking at, if I take off this mask, this is the brightest exposure, which accounts for the shadows. If I take this off, this is going to be the shadows for the middle exposure. As you can see, that's the middle exposure. So as we zoom in, shadows aren't really too bad in this image. There's plenty of light, but what this layer is going to do is mask in a little bit of some luminance value on top of those shadows. So now you can see, looking down here, the shadows are slightly increased. Now we bring in this highlight layer. You can see how that affects these highlights. So those are brought back looking nice, and then merges them together and turns them into the HDR ambient. So that's why I do that. Then typically what we'll do, I know a lot of people learn off of Nathan Cool, and he likes to do a 50% blend, luminosity blend. So we're just going to change the HDR ambient to luminosity. We'll go to opacity, and we'll change this to 50%. Now you can see this HDR ambient is blended in with this top flash layer. And most people are going to, or a lot of people who are starting out with flash, that's all they do. They just do this one flash pop and blend it in with this HDR ambient, and then that's it. But we're going to take it a step further. So what I like to do is, I'm just going to turn off this HDR ambient for right now. We'll use it again in a little bit. We are going to turn this layer, we'll just call it a darken color repair, because remember I said that this first flash pop is going to help fix the highlights. So we'll change this to darken layer blend mode, and then we are going to duplicate that and change this one to color. Then we will group these two together, and that's going to be my darken color repair group. Okay, and you can see now that since this was turned into a darken and a color layer blend mode, that's starting to see the layers underneath it. And automatically you can see how this brightness that comes from the flash pop, once I turn on this darken color repair, it actually helps to alleviate a lot of those large flash glares, I'll call it. I guess just flash glare, flash bounce, flash pop, flash blob, whatever you want to call this. It helps smooth that out. Same thing if I take that off and I show you this other side, it just helps to smooth out those over brightness values by darkening them and then repairing it with a color layer. Okay, so aside from that, that's what that does, darken color repair. We can move on. Now we will set a white mask on this right hand side pop, flash pop. We're going to do G for gradient. Gradient tool is right here. We want a black foreground, and then we'll come up to this toolbar up here, and we're going to select this middle one, which is a black to transparent gradient. Make sure you're on normal blend mode, 100% opacity, and all we're going to do is just click and drag. Now you can see that I'm easily blended out on both sides. We'll turn on the darken color repair. You can see how that affects the color on some of these parts of the image, especially here inside this comforter, how it goes from a light yellow to more of a rich yellow. Some people like that, some people don't. If you don't like it, you can always just turn it off. And then typically, if you were to leave this darken color repair on, this extra layer is not going to be showing through these other three layers. So we're going to bring this left hand flash pop, that additional flash pop that was on the side of the room, we're going to bring this up and over the darken color repair, and all we're going to do here is just set this to a screen layer blend mode. Now if you pay attention to this left hand side, you'll see that when I turn it off and on, it helps to brighten up that side of the room, which it was pretty bright inside this room. It was a lot of light coming in. Maybe this layer is a little too bright, so I'll just go ahead and drop that opacity to maybe, we'll start at 50%, and that's good. That looks nice. Then we could turn back on this HDR Ambient, which blends together all of those flashes, those flash pops, as well as the HDR Ambient layer. It blends all of them together, and that's the result. Now, like I said, this darken color repair, it wasn't really needed on this specific scene since we're not trying to show through the windows. None of these lights are turned on, so I'm not trying to bring back my highlights inside the lights. So we're just going to turn this off, and that looks nice. Okay, then what I'm going to do is a Control Command plus Alt or Option plus Shift plus E to merge all visible. Merge all visible. You see this Shift Control E and Control E for merge down and merge visible. You want to merge all visible by doing this action right here, but adding the Alt or Option button to it. So it's Shift Control Alt E, or Shift Command Option E to merge all visible, which just basically stamps whatever you see here into a new layer and then creates it on top. So that's the merge all visible hotkey. Then from here, we're going to do a filter camera raw, which this is going to be Shift Control A or Shift, Shift Command A to open it up. So Control Shift A opens up your camera raw. Okay, now that that's open, I'm just going to hit it with an auto, and that decrease the exposure on my image, which I don't like. So we're going to bring this back up. I typically like my exposure, the peak of this histogram, to be around this right third of the histogram. I might even increase it just a little bit. about right there. Then what I'll always do is I'll decrease the shadows to 0, vibrance and saturation both to 0, and I think that's fairly decent. That's a good image right there. Last thing I might do is hit this with a curves contrast, which, let's go ahead and just delete that real quick. What that is I'll go into image, adjustments, curves, which your hotkey for this one is Control or Command M to bring that up. And I just like to pinch these down right here, right on this intersection right here. This gets pinched down, and then right at this intersection right here, this gets pinched up, and that is going to be my slight S curve. But whenever I do that, it brings in some more color value to this image, which I don't like. So from there I go to edit, fade curves, and what I'll do is I'll just drop this mode to luminosity. And I know it's going to be hard to tell. Oh, it looks like this is not aligned. I needed to align this. That's okay. I'll show you how quick and easy it is to go through this. So you can't really see those color values show up. I'm trying to show you. That's okay. Anyways, so that's pretty good right there. That's a good image. Now, if I wanted to redo this just very quickly, I'm going to start from the very beginning. I'm going to delete layer. Now I'm reset. And what I'll do first, I should have done this in the beginning, is an HDR merge, and then followed by, I'll select all these layers, edit, auto align. Okay, that's aligned. And then I'm going to crop this in. There we go. Now I can finish everything else out. There's my ambient blend. This is my darken color repair. This is my gradient blend. We're going to move this extra layer back up top above the darken color repair. Set that to screen. Lower the opacity to about 50%. That's good. We'll merge all visible. Go to skipped a step because we're not using that darken color repair. So let's turn that darken color repair off. Merge all visible. Open up camera raw. I'm going to hit it with an auto first, like always. I'm going to increase my exposure back to where I want it. Then I'll drop my shadows to 0, vibrance, saturation to 0. Then what I'll do is I'll hit it with a curves contrast, which automatically brings up my curves adjustment, and then it pinches it down for me, as well as sets the fade to luminosity, and then that's it. There you go. That's the first image. Now you can see that this was shot on my A7S III, so the resolution is not as great when you zoom in compared to my A7 III. But now you can see that after that auto alignment, that alignment is now fixed. So this image is good. I'm going to save and then close. So that's nice. Now what we can do is I'll take this image right here. Or first, let's select this next scene entirely. Then I'll take this image right here. I'll click on it. I'll go to sync, white balance. And now those are synced for this next scene. White balance looks good. Looks good. I'm just making sure that the white balance is good for all these flash pops. Back here, so over here you can see I'm doing my right side bounce inside the kitchen to light up this left hand side over here. It's a little dim, so I'm going to bring that back. That looks a little bit better. That's nice. Then the next one is me popping over here on the left hand side to fill in this little right hand side corner of the kitchen. I'll bring the highlights back up as well, just to kind of brighten up that area. And I'll right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Okay, now that we got that opened up, first thing I want to do is my HDR merge. Okay, followed by my auto alignment. We're going to start using my actions now, my custom actions, to work on this, just to kind of speed it up a little bit. So we'll do the auto alignment, which now takes care of my alignment. There we are. Then I'm going to do a crop. I don't think I have a crop set up for my A7 III. Nope. Oh, there it is. Oh no, this is my A7S III. Okay, so I'm going to hit it with a crop action. That crops that. Now do my ambient blend. And that's going to be that 50% luminosity, as you can see. 50% luminosity. It also creates another color layer just in case we need to brush back in some color. You can see that it's set to a black mask because black conceals, white reveals, so it's black on purpose. Just in case we ever needed to, there's like some discoloration inside some of this. We can select it, select the mask, and then just invert. And now you can see the difference when I turn off this color. See how that affects it? Off, on, off, on. We don't need it right now. I just wanted to show you the purpose of it. So I'll just go ahead and set that back to a full black mask. Okay. Then it creates a copy. That's just in case we need it later on. As a backup, that's just set to normal. So if I were to turn this off and turn this back on, that's the layer that we started with before. That's the HDR layer we started with before turning it into an ambient blend. So this is just our backup in case we need it later on. Okay, so the next layer is going to be the first flash pop. This was meant to bring in the highlights for the lights as well as the windows. Even though we're not doing window pulls, I still take this layer, this picture anyways, which I'll show you when we edit the next image why I do that. So first we'll set this to a darken color repair, which takes that layer, duplicates it, sets it to color, sets the second one to darken, groups them. I'll turn that off. This is going to be my side to side flash pop, so we'll just hit that with a gradient blend. Now you can see I'm blended out of either side. That's good. And all these layers below this left hand side flash pop get selected and brought in above the darken color repair. From here, now you can see that I'm trying to light these back spaces. So all I'm going to do is do a white gradient. Make sure again we are on a black foreground color. Make sure we are set to black to transparent gradient. Then I'm just going to click and drag my way out of it. Now you can see I'm blended out of both sides super easily. I'll take those two layers, group them, and then I'll set it to a screen. Now you can see how that works. And the last layers that we have to work on are going to be this side to side flash pop as well inside the kitchen. Same thing, set a white mask and just blend our way out of it. Group those, set it to a screen, turn back on the layers that we need. You see how when I turn on that darken color repair, all this flash glare that's on the seats gets taken care of. Not that we need to, but it just does. Let's see here. Then what we'll do is, let's see, it is a little bright. So for this group 1, which is this dining room area over here, I'm just going to decrease the opacity a little bit. Now for this kitchen, you can see when we turn that off and on, we'll just decrease that a little bit as well. The darkening color repair, I don't really need it right now. That's fine. But let's see, say you wanted to do a window pull and you didn't do a traditional window pull by flashing light right at these windows. What you can do is take your darken color repair, bring it up above everything, including the ambient, and you can always just mask that in right there. But since I didn't shoot a specific exposure to see through the windows. That's why you can see that it's not brought back entirely, but you can see the difference. Like, that's how easy it is just to do a window pool if you forgot. Look at that. So you can see how quickly that was brought back, but we don't need it right now, so I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm going to bring it back so we don't get confused. Now what I'll do is a merge all visible. Again, that's a control or command plus shift plus alt or option plus E to merge all visible. We'll do a control or command plus shift plus A to bring up our camera raw. Hit it with an auto. There we are. Bring back the exposure to where I want it. Around this area is good. Doesn't have to be exact. I will decrease my shadows to 0. Vibrance 0. Saturation 0. And the windows, I don't really care too much on this image. It's just a basic house that was for sale. I'm not trying to do the most and make it a high-end edit. So that's good right there. I'll just hit OK. And then I'll hit it with a curves and contrast just to make it pop a little bit more. Not too much, but it's enough. You can see how that brightens it up. So I like that. And that's pretty much good. That's good to go. Maybe just straighten it up a little bit, but that's a good image, so I'll save it. Now we will speed it up even more. So let's go ahead and take these. We will take this exposure here and sync it with its white balance across the other images. We'll deselect that one. We want to make sure our white balance is correct across all scenes that we deliver. We don't want our white balance to shift. Now you can see right here, I'm bouncing off of this yellow wall, which is nice. But once I come over here, I start to bounce off these orange cabinets, which turns this not as yellow, but more orange. So let's just counter that with a little green and a little orange or yellow. That's a little too much. We'll increase the highlight. Do we need to increase highlights here? Yep. And this one's a little blue, so let's just increase that yellow. There we go. This is going to be a back room, and these are the stairs. This is blue because they painted that wall a light blue, so don't think the white balance is off on this one. It's just a blue wall, a light blue wall. So now we'll actually, let's see, these right here, these are relatively good as well, slightly blue, and this one's slightly blue. Okay, so right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Okay, so I'm going to release this action, all of these actions to you. I think I might probably just charge like 10 bucks or something. I'll throw in some videos, some tutorial videos to show you what these do. But in the meantime, let's just go ahead and slap on my main action since we're using my A7S III. So main action. Now if you have a different camera other than an A7S III, you would have to set up your crop to match the crop on your camera, otherwise it's not going to be the same. And you can see how it did our ambient blend. It took all our extra layers and pulled them into a folder, as well as brought them up above the darken color repair. We have our darken color repair, we have our bounce right and bounce left, and they're already blended out. All we have to do is take care of these extra layers now. So you can see if I isolate this folder, this is what we have to work with. It's these right side pops and these back rooms, as well as these left side pops. So all I'm going to do is hit my action, return to normal with white mask. You can see it returned both of these layers to normal blend mode. Selected this white mask. All we have to do is hit G for gradient, blend our way out. We'll group these two together and we'll set that to a screen. Wherever screen is, screen, there we go. These back images are for the hallway and the stairs. We'll leave those alone. All we have to do is go to these next side flash pops, do the same thing, return to normal with white mask, hit G for gradient, blend our way out, group them, set it to screen. Now look at that. That was fairly easy. That was fairly easy. And instead of talking my way through it, let's just restart real quick. Align content. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you how fast it goes normally. Okay, since I took these images, I already know what I have to do. Return to normal on this. This is why I like to keep my process, my images, all the same workflow, because it makes editing these a breeze later on. If I were to take all of these out of order, then I would have to do my entire process manually, and that's not fun. So there you go, that's a quick blend. I'm going to merge all visible, go to camera raw, hit it with an auto. That's okay. Bring down the shadows, bring down the vibrance, bring down the saturation to 0, and it's a fairly good image. I'll do a curves contrast, and that's typically where I would leave it. Now, even with this darken color repair, I left it on. That's fine. But to show you what I meant about how it fixes these windows, all I would have to do is, I would have done this sooner, but you can do it now too. I'm just going to bring this up. Now you can see how these lights, typically when it comes to my high-end edits, I really care about my highlights. So there we go. Now look at that. That's the darken color repair in action. We can even bring this back right here too. Look at that. So easy. So easy. This would have looked better if it was blended underneath the ambient blend, instead of being blended underneath all these extras. But that's okay. Now you can see, I mean, that was super quick. This is the agent's shoes over here, and we'll do a J on the keyboard to go to our remove tool, that new remove tool, and we'll just take that out. Skirt. That does not look good. That's actually pretty horrible. I guess just because it's inside of a corner right there, it's kind of hard to replace that. Yeah, so it is what it is. That's fine. Ain't no one gonna be looking all the way over there and saying, hey, what's up with that baseboard? Why does it look all stupid and off? But it's alright. It is alright. Can we do a remove tool on here just because? Just because? It's not a video about the remove tool, but look at this. Skirt. For some reason, now that I'm recording this video, it's acting up. Usually it's pretty perfect. There we go. That looks good. Not that we needed to remove it anyways, but that's the remove tool in action. And those are good. So I appreciate everybody coming by. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you think that I should release my actions. Again, I think I might just do it for like 10 bucks. I'll create some walkthrough tutorials that will go along with it, and it'll show you all these actions kind of separately to walk you through it. I have some more actions that I use for other houses, like these white walls. It will help out with houses that have white walls or white ceilings, but I didn't use it on here, obviously, since there's no white walls. I'm not trying to fade it. Then there's some other actions in here that help out, but editing is a breeze when you have a system in place that allows you to use actions consistently. Because again, if I didn't do my right to left or my left to right or my darken color repair, then that action would not work, and I would have to do this process manually, which can take a lot of time when you're first starting out. But I hope you learned something. Again, let me know if you have any questions. You all take care. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.